So, today I am here with the mid-year book freakout tag, which I've seen floating around here on BookTube quite a lot recently, probably because it's the middle of the year, and I'm afraid I don't know who the original creator of the tag is, but loads of people have done it. I haven't been tagged, but I want to do it too, so I'm going to jump right in. Question 1 is the best book that you have read this year, and I've read quite a lot of really great books, but I haven't actually had that many 5-star reads this year, and I think that's because I'm becoming much more critical and a little bit more stingy with my 5 stars. But one that most definitely was worthy of 5 stars was Foundryside by Robert Jackson Bennett, which is an epic fantasy. What a shock that my favourite book of the year would be epic fantasy. But there you go. This one is set in a city, or really the slums of the city, called Foundryside, and we follow a thief who is very good at her job because she can touch objects and hear their pasts. And the magic system in this world is called scriving, and is essentially, if you know the language of the scribes, you can use it to change what an object believes about itself. For example, you could make a plank of wood believe that it is actually a plank of cement, and it would therefore have the strength of a plank of cement. I absolutely loved this book. I loved the characters, I loved the magic system, I loved the world. It was so intricate but also easy to follow, and I felt like the pacing was just perfect as well, and I cannot wait for the second book to come out. The next question is a new release that you want to read but have not yet read, and for this one I am going with Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I'm not so great at necessarily knowing when new books are coming out, but I do get new release books every month in my Fairy Loot boxes, and this is actually one that I did already know about. This one is definitely one that I want to read. It follows a librarian essentially as she tries to fix what she has unleashed from the library, and there's dark magic. So I'm really excited to get to this one, and I'm sure I will be picking it up very, very soon. Another new release book that I'm really interested to read is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. That is a contemporary romance book, which I don't read a lot of, but I actually do really enjoy romance books, and so I don't know why I don't read more of them. This one is a hate to lovers trope, so the sister and best friend, well, the sister of the bride and the best friend of the groom, by some set of circumstances that I don't yet know, end up having to go on the honeymoon together and pretend to be married, even though they hate each other. So I'm really looking forward to reading that one. The only reason I haven't yet is because it's only available on ebook in the UK so far, but I think it's set for paperback release pretty soon, and once it is, I will be picking it up. The next question is the most anticipated releases for the autumn-winter season this year, and without a doubt my absolute top most anticipated book for the year just in general is The Toll by Neil Shusterman, which is the final book in the Arc of the Scythe trilogy, and I could not be more excited for that to come out in November. I already have Scythe and Thunderhead downloaded as audiobooks on Audible because, as you might know, I do all my rereading on audiobook, so I have those ready to go. I'm going to be picking those up in October, ready for The Toll to come out in November, and I am super excited. Another one that I am super excited for is Starsight by Brandon Sanderson, which is the next book in the Cytonic series, and I think it's due out in September, and I really enjoyed Skyward when it came out last year, and I cannot wait to read Starsight Book 2 because we left off Skyward with quite a lot of questions and I really want the answers, so I'm really looking forward to that, and I will probably at some point pick up the audiobook of Skyward as well to reread probably in the beginning of September or just before Starsight comes out. Moving on to a bit of a downer now, most disappointing read of the year so far, and for this one I am going with Nevernight by J. Kristoff. I do have a full review up on my channel, so I will link that in the cards up above for you so that you can go and check that out if you're interested. But essentially the reason this was the most disappointing for me so far this year is because there was so much potential for me to love this book. It's an assassin school trope book, which I love, and the main character, Mia, I found really enjoyable in general, and there were a couple of side characters, Mr. Kindly and Trick, who I also really liked, and actually the plot of this was pretty good and I did enjoy the storyline, I did enjoy the character arcs. There's a twist at the end that I did not see coming and that was really enjoyable, but I just could not get past the writing. It just really wasn't for me. I'm not going to go into loads of detail because I did that in my review, but I didn't like the footnotes, I didn't get the humour, and I just didn't really like the narrator. So unfortunately, this one I really, really, really wanted to love, but I just didn't. On a slightly happier note, the most surprising book of the year for me so far has been The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. And this is a young adult sci-fi book, but the reason it was such a surprise to me is because it's so much more than just a young adult sci-fi book. It really explores so many important themes, and I've already downloaded the audiobook for this one so I can reread it really soon. I only read this in April, but I already really want to reread it because it was just so insightful and deep, and I really, really loved it, and I expected to enjoy it, but I did not expect to absolutely love it and to feel so engaged by it and to feel like it was as profound as it was, and it really took me by surprise in the absolute best way possible, and I cannot wait to reread it. Next up we have new favourite author of the year, and for this one I'm going with Lauren James. So far I have read The Quiet at the End of the World and The Next Together by her. These are both, she's a sci-fi author, and I really don't know why I don't read more sci-fi, because inevitably whenever I do, I really enjoy it. But this one is set in the future where the human race have become infertile due to the spread of a virus, and we follow the last two young people on Earth as they come to terms with the fact that they are the end of the human race. And The Next Together is also sci-fi, but very, very different. It follows two characters whose lives repeat throughout time and who fall in love on every occasion. And both of these books were just amazing, and I love Lauren James's writing style. I get on so well with it. She writes really great twists. The twist in this one, I feel like I kind of saw it coming, but it still really took me by surprise, which I think is really impressive, because if you figure out a twist before it happens, normally you're not surprised by it because you just go, oh yeah, I was right. But with this one I was still like, no way, I was actually right. I can't believe that that's actually it. I thought I was being, you know, ridiculous in thinking that that was the case, but it actually was. And with this one, I feel like the big twist is going to be in book 2. I believe this is a duology, and the Next Together is the first book, and then The Last Beginning is the second book, and I've ordered it and it's on its way. This one I borrowed from the library, but they don't have book 2, so I've ordered it because I need to know what happens. But I've just been so impressed with Lauren James' writing style. It really works for me. Her books are really intriguing, easy to read, fun, and I like the fact that she uses romance in her books and has a fun, cute romance plotline. alongside all the sci-fi elements. And I know a lot of people don't like romance in their books, but I really do, and I really enjoyed the romantic elements of both of these, and I'm really looking forward to picking up everything else by her. And I'm looking forward to meeting her at Yalk and getting her to sign my books. I'm very excited about that. The next question is your new favourite character, and mine is Sua from Orange, the manga series, trilogy? It's not really a trilogy, there's 2 volumes and then a sort of a sequel, sort of a 3rd volume, but it's only really short, so not really. But Sua is not the main character at all. He is a side character, but he is the unsung hero of this story, in my opinion. I just absolutely adore him, and I can't really tell you why without giving you spoilers, and I don't want to give you spoilers. It's a manga. It's a really fast read because it's a manga, and even for a manga it's a pretty fast read as well. I just highly recommend that you pick these up. They're so deep and insightful and beautiful, and Sua is just amazing. I love him, and yeah, please just read these books. They're so great. Next up is a book that made you cry, and for this one we're going with Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. Now, I don't really cry at books. I can't remember the last time I cried at a book, but this one actually did make me cry, which is incredibly unusual for me, and it was only a little bit, but it was super emotional. And I honestly, this one could have been the most surprising book this year as well, but I just didn't want to give the same answers for every question, because this book could have been the answer to a lot of categories. This was just such a great book that really pulled on my heartstrings. It's about friendship, it's about struggles growing up, it's about deciding what you want to do with your future and navigating that, and dealing with parents who have expectations for you, and peers who have expectations for you, and teachers who have expectations for you, and how you deal with all of those things when maybe the standard path to success isn't the one that's going to work for you. There's also a social media aspect to the book, which is really interesting and so relevant to young people's lives today, and it was just a really emotional book, and yeah, I shed a few tears at one point, and I actually really liked it. Then moving on to a book that made you happy, I have The Paper and Heart Society by Lucy Powery, and this is a young adult novel, so it's to the younger end of young adult, and it is contemporary, and it follows Tabby as she moves to a new town, and even though she's a very introverted person, she joins a book group and discovers a whole new friendship that she didn't expect, and it was just so unbelievably cute and heartwarming, and it was all about books and bookish people and a love of books, which just made me so happy, and I felt so comforted when I read this book. And I only just finished it earlier this week, and it's already on this list because it was just such a fun time reading it, and it did make me incredibly happy. I felt like I'd found my people within the pages of a book, and if you're watching this video, it's probably because you love books and reading too, so I would really recommend this one. It's just incredibly comforting. I really don't know how else to describe it. And finally, we have the most beautiful book you have bought or read this year, and I actually have a pretty big pile for this because I don't know what's happening, but the book cover game at the moment is just so on point. There are so many pretty books. I've already shown you a couple of them. So The Paper and Heart Society is beautiful. So is The Quiet at the End of the World. I mean, look at that foiling. Gorgeous! Song of Sorrow by Melinda Salisbury. That water drop effect I just absolutely love. Starfish by Kemi Dawn Bowman is just so detailed and beautiful. Viper by Bex Hogan is also gorgeous. I mean, you can sense a theme here. I do quite like foiling. I mean, doesn't everybody? Then we have The Beholder by Anna Bright, which has pink foiling and pink sprayed edges. This is the Fairy Loot exclusive edition with a burgundy and rose gold naked hardback. It's also soft touch, which I love. Then we have Finale, which is also a Fairy Loot exclusive edition with the rose gold foiling, the split, the sprayed edges, and Under the Dust Jacket is even better. Look at that foiling, it's just so pretty. And then finally, The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. It's not quite foiling, but it is shiny and beautiful and colourful, and yeah, all the covers this year are just so gorgeous, and the publishers are killing it. But one thing I will say is I do also love the cover of Peace and Turmoil by Elliot Brooks, which is actually a self-published novel, and the cover was designed by Jay from the channel Captured in Words, and I think it's just beautiful. I can't remember who did the cover art, and I don't think it says, but the cover art is also beautiful, and the book is beautiful inside as well, because there are lots of very stunning illustrations as well. So I couldn't just pick one beautiful book because there are so many. And that's all of the questions. If you've done this tag video as well, let me know down below so I can check out yours, or if you haven't done it yet, then consider yourself tagged. Please do it. I'd love to hear what your answers to these questions are too. But that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video and want to see more like this from me, then do think about hitting that subscribe button, and I hope to see you here again soon. Thanks! Bye!